Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. Alright, let's address the elephant in the room. I know it's not Halloween. Alright, that's long past. But when it came to my Halloween videos, I ran out of time and I couldn't upload everything I wanted to. So that's why I'm uploading them past Halloween. But if you stop and look at it like this, at some point in time, it's gonna be Halloween time again, October. So somebody eventually will stumble upon my videos and watch it around Halloween time. So yeah, and I'm here today to talk to you about the differences between that of the 1995 Goosebumps series and the 2023 Disney Plus Goosebumps series. So I love Goosebumps like to death. I've been a fan of Goosebumps ever since the books came out when I was in middle school. I loved it even more when the television series came out on Fox Kids back in '95. Like, I am pretty much a Goosebumper for life. I still, till this day, watch the original Goosebumps as much as possible, and especially around October. Like, Goosebumps is just my jam and everything. Goosebumps is just an amazing series. And it's just, I don't know, it's that magic R.L. Stine has, you know what I'm saying? Like, all he wanted to do was scare little kids, but not scare them too much. And so, when I heard that they was gonna revive this series 28 years later, I was excited until I heard it was going to be on Disney Plus. But in all fairness, it is that of, like, you know, a Sony project actually, and they just show it on Disney Plus. And of course, you know, Disney Plus is probably going to have some restrictions here and there. And so there are a lot of differences, and I mean a lot, between the two series. The new series is more modern and everything. And with that modernness, like, you know, it comes a whole lot of changes to that of the original series. Now, so far, the Disney Plus show has not been renewed. I do wonder if it is or not. Some people like this series, some people do not. And some people are just like in between. I'm in between. Like, it's okay, but it's not that of the original, which is a crying shame, because the original, as 90 cheesy, corny as it is, it's still gold. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, there's something just so special about that show, man. You just can't deny it. It's something that still resonates with fans today. There are people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s that will still go back and watch that of the original series. So, what exactly are the differences between the two? Well, the original series was filmed in Canada and it was aired on Fox Kids. Fox Kids was a kids American like network that's part of, like, you know, the Fox network. And Fox Kids was kind of like, you know, it's the equivalent of what Cartoon Network is today. Like, back then there weren't that many channels for kids to watch like cartoons, unless it was syndicated stuff or stuff on Nickelodeon or stuff on Disney. But if you did not have cable, which eventually my family stopped having when I was like 5, like, Fox Kids was your go-to to watch like kids stuff, except for Disney stuff or like the syndicated stuff. But Fox Kids was where it's at. And it had things like Batman, Spider-Man, X-Men, all kinds of stuff. Digimon, animation, like, you know, you ate good back then. And so, like, you had a large variety of stuff. And it was some pretty edgy, dramatic, like, you know, cartoons back then. Still weren't allowed to say certain words or show blood, nothing like that. With the new series, it's on streaming instead of broadcast television. It's on Disney Plus. And Disney Plus is one of those networks that is really struggling right now. Pretty much every original Disney Plus series that's not part of Marvel or Star Wars get canceled after 1 or 2 seasons. I'm not even joking. Like, just about every show they have had is gone now. And some of them you can't even find on the streaming platform anymore because they completely took it off. And so, surprisingly, this show is still dark, even though it's on Disney Plus. The intro. So the intro to the original series is iconic. It still gives me chills to this day. And so basically what it is, it's a man in a trench coat and a fedora hat. And it's implied to be R.L. Stein. He's walking through like a empty field. And the empty field, you tell it's like in the fall because some of like the grass is kind of dying and everything, but some of it's still there. He has his briefcase with his name. He cracks it open, and depending on which version you see, because there are different versions of it from different seasons, is that like papers fly out, and the papers turn into like a giant G, and then they just start like changing the environment and making it more like spooky and eerie. Then it goes to like this house. The door opens and you see monster blood dripping down in green as you see like clip stills from like the show. In the new version, all it is just like a piece of paper that's kind of brownish and everything, pinkish brownish, something like that. And you see the words goosebumps being like, printed or painted on like by itself, and it's in black lettering. And that's literally it. It's just a title card sequence. It's not eerie. It's not spooky. It's like nothing special. It's very modern. And it takes away from that creepy factor, because the thing about the original intro is that the original intro hooked you from the start of what this show was going to be about. So the original series lasted for about 4 or 5 seasons, and so far this one only has 1. But the biggest difference is probably the color palette. In the original series, the color palette was pretty lush and everything. Like, it's your typical like television show from back in the 90s. There was color, there was atmosphere. It gave a certain characteristic to that of like the setting and that of like the characters. In the new version, the color has been pretty much sucked out. It's very modern, it's muted. It kind of has like this grayish blue tint to it. It's very dull and very unimpressive. It's meant to give you dread and an eerie feeling, but the problem is because just about every new modern show since 2001, this has been going on, and so it's not special no more. And when the show isn't all that like creepy, scary, you don't really feel that much dread. Locations. The locations on the original series were iconic. They are so iconic that some people still look for them today. I think there's a YouTube channel that literally, the person who lives in Canada, he or she, I can't remember who it was, they literally go all around Canada looking for the locations that like the Goosebumps series were filmed on. They have some very iconic settings, big open fields, forests, condemned buildings. This weird museum looking building looked like it's out by the sea, a dock. Like all these creepy buildings that just look like abandoned and everything. And those buildings and those fields and like the swamp and everything, it really set the tone for that episode. It lets you know what type of environment you're in, what type of people you're going to be involved with. And like, it gave you just a sense of like, eeriness and kind of dread. Like, that like is set in the real world, but it's a fictional real world. And a lot of the locations that they're on are actually just made up cities and stuff, like Fever Swamp. Like, it's just a bizarre name like that just makes you go, that's interesting, Because R.L. Stein said himself he never wanted his series to be set in the real world. It's meant to be fictional to let, kids know that, hey, this, even though you might be scared, this ain't like real and everything. And with the new series, it's basically in a real like town type place. The buildings are not that impressive. The buildings all look the same. There aren't that many locations other than like, the building that Howard stayed in, the place that Mona works, the school, and that's really about it. It's about as like realistic can be. And there's no sense, like even the chase scene that I liked in the up in the mountains and the forest and stuff, in the snow, that was cool. But other than the snow, there was nothing to make it feel different, like, And that's one thing that this show is missing. It's missing that the major character of the show, one of the major characters of the show is the location and stuff. Source material. Source material in the original one was pretty much just front and center from start to finish. They will alter like the endings every once in a while, either because they just didn't want like, readers and viewers be like, okay, I remember exactly what's going to happen, so this is going to happen. So, they'll change things up. Or maybe they didn't like the original ending to the book, so they would change it up. But pretty much everything else is what you're going to read for the most part, just slightly altered. There are like some characters that are missing from like the original show, but the characters you get are good enough, and those other characters are more like side characters, and you just really don't need them. And so, like, if you're gonna read a book about, like, say, You Can't Scare Me or something like that, that you're expecting to see, like, three kids in there, two boys trying to scare a girl, and it's a, like, mud monster type thing. In the new series, it's not like that. The new series is more like a teen drama YA series. It's YA first and Goosebumps second. And they don't really deal with a whole lot of Goosebumps stuff for the most part. It's mostly about just teen romance, them trying to find love. It's like, okay, that's not Goosebumps. Them trying to find love and them trying to solve a mystery of this weird demonic ghost that's like taking over their teaching. And there's a couple of Goosebump references here. And for the most part, you'll go through the entire episode just watching a YA novel type series. And then you get like, a couple of scoops of like Goosebump type stuff, but it's very rushed through. And the Goosebump stuff that you get is pretty much just like the runtime of the original series. Because like, say You Can't Scare Me. That is completely reworked from the original source material, because some episodes don't even deal with whatever it is they're talking about. You Can't Scare Me in the new series is not about a mud monster and boys trying to scare a little girl. It's literally about a demonic ghost who took over the body of a teacher who wants Slappy the doll back. And he chases this one woman all throughout, like the mountains and the woods. And it was a good episode, spooky episode. Like it felt like a slasher type thing, but that has nothing to do with that of the source material. Then there is like Night of the Living Dummy 2, which is basically about like a girl who gets like slappy. Her dad's I think they have a family, and they do like family stuff where they do like once a week they have family night. And so she gets Slappy, all this crazy stuff starts happening. Nobody believes her. Slappy's pranking like the house and getting her in trouble and stuff like that. In the new version, it's basically the teacher being a dope and not being able to keep a job or a place, inherits a house, and like, all of a sudden he's all like, I'm gonna write a book. And then he starts writing about all the crazy stuff that's been going on. And then he revives Slappy after they just destroyed him, knowing Slappy is evil, but still did it anyways. The music. The music in the original is iconic. If you were in like a swampland, then you will be hearing some type of hillbilly type music. If you were like in the big city, you will hear more like a pop type vibe or something like that. Like, you'll hear like the eerie Goosebumps music or something like a variant of it. In the new series, there is no music. You'll either get copyrighted music from some famous singer or you'll get nothing at all. And it's really flat, it's really dull, and it just doesn't get you in the mood. The original music got you hype. Twists. R.L. Stine is famous for twists here and there. Like, there's this one dude at at camp. I think it's called Nightmare Camp or something like that. And so all these kids start disappearing. He goes to the counselors. They're all like, we don't know who none of these people are you're talking about. And so he just decides to arm himself and demand like a bunch of answers as he was trying to save his friends. And then it turns out they're on an alien planet and they want to infiltrate Earth. That is a bizarre twist, but it's a crazy twist. Or like this one boy who has a group of friends, and then all of a sudden they start going missing. When he starts telling people, they're all like, well, we don't know who these people are. And then all of a sudden he starts turning into a doll. He thinks this scientist experimented on him. But the twist of that is literally he was a doll to begin with and never knew it, and they experimented on him and turned him human. Or there's this one haunted house and there's a ghost that haunts it, and there's these two kids that keep going there. The kid keeps making this one, the ghost makes this one kid life like just a nightmare and everything, getting him in trouble at school. And then when he goes home, it's revealed that the boy is not a ghost. He's an actual human boy who parents made him invisible because everybody else on the planet are aliens that took over. It's the crazy bizarre twist that just makes your eyes pop and be like, what? In the new series, the twists are kind of odd. Like, there's this one scene where the teacher's all like, oh, you want to see a twist? And then he turns into a demonic ghost. Well, we, the audience, already knew he was a demonic ghost, so that's not really a twist. And so then, we think that they're in the real world, but they're really inside a book in one episode. And the book is starting to get ripped, water got to it, mud and stuff. And the pages are starting to just disappear. And so it's a twist, but it's not that much of a shocking twist, but it's still a twist, but it's like a very vague, bleak type twist. And, now Slappy is back in his human form, and, it's a twist because you wasn't expecting to see his ghostly human form, but, it's like I said, it's a bleak twist. It's not like a major one like in the original. Characters was, I keep saying iconic because that's what it is. Characters in the original were iconic. The original characters in Goosebumps series used to be normally a pair, a duo. Normally it'll be like a brother and sister or like a best friend or something like that. And one of them is always pranking the other. Always trying to scare that person because the other person's like a scaredy cat. That's normally your bread and butter of like Goosebumps back in the day. You always had this one person trying to scare like another or be temperamental to another person, and they have to work together to stop whatever the evil is. And sometimes it'll be like a group type thing. And the kids have like very bold personalities, very different personalities. Carly Beth is one of the most famous of all Goosebump characters because she was a scared little girl. And, she wanted to get back at everybody, got this haunted mask, and then it started to possess her. And the power of love had to conquer that. Then in the next Halloween, like, she had to save this boy who tormented her all her life, but she was willing to do it because she didn't want him to go down that evil path that she almost went down. In the new series, the new characters are just teenagers. See, in the original one, they was kids, but in the new series, they're teenagers close to graduating high school. You don't really get that sense of, oh my God, it's a little kid running through the woods and the monster's finna kill it. Now you get the sense of, oh, it's just a teenager and they're just being teens and everything. They go through nothing but teen drama. The death of a father haunts this one boy to the point where he wants to be like a daredevil. This one girl's parents are getting divorced. Two parents are like hooking up. Like, and it's like a love triangle or going around. And it's just like, different. And the characters in the new series, well, the teenager ones are very annoying. Sometimes they're just all over the place, but no matter, you're supposed to root for them, but sometimes you just want them to get their comeuppance and let the monster thing get them. That is how annoying they are. No matter if, like, the original series, the kids were mean and annoying, you still wanted them to win at the end, but here, not so much. The characters here just whine and whine and whine, and it gets on your nerves. Another major difference is diversity. When you look at the old original series, it was pretty much predominantly white. There's only about 4 to 6 black kids in it. And about 3 to 4 of them only get something to do where they're like a main character or like, a friend for the most part. But they really don't have much to do unless they're a main character. And there's really only there's only 3 of them that only gets like the leading role in everything. And, and when it came to the black kids back then, like all the dark ones just played like sidekick roles who were barely in the show, where all the light skinned ones had the major roles. And they only had like 2 Asian girls and maybe like a Hispanic or 2, and that's about it. And everybody else was white. Now, coming into the new series, it's more diverse. You have Margot, who is half white and half Asian. You have Isabella, who is half Asian and I believe half Hispanic. You have that of Isaiah, who's black. And once again, they went with a light-skinned black dude, but that's just Canada and Hollywood and all the other stuff. And then you have James, who is gay. But what you don't know is that the actor who plays James is actually a transgender man. And so they went more diverse this way. And some people are upset. Well, we all know who's upset about that. But it's nice to have diversity. It's nice to see other people because the original series was very, very, very white. And for the most part, when it comes to star power, like always, the similarities, like the adults are always the main stars you'll probably recognize. Now, I don't recognize none of the ones from Canada from the original series because I'm not Canadian, but I recognize some of their voices from X-Men, the animated series. In this show, I recognize about 3 or 4 of the adults and everything. As for the young people, just like with both series, I don't know who any of them are. However, I know who the Margot actress is because I've seen her in Star Trek Picard. However, also I know who some of the ones from the original series is from the Magic School Bus and everything. The new series is more mature. There's cussing, there's blood, there's parents hooking up. And like in the original one, it couldn't be none of that stuff because it was on the kids' network. Parents in the original series were pretty much scarce. All you really saw were like the kids, and the parents were typical parents. Didn't believe the kids, or they was actually monsters and had to like keep their secret or something like that. And also, like, the parents were just pretty much as 90s as they could get in the way they dressed and the way they acted. They were very parental and stuff, like, don't do that and don't do this, and I don't believe in ghosts. In the new series, the parents are more involved in the show. In fact, it's the events of the parents from when they was younger is why all the bad stuff is now happening to their kids. The parents have a very dark secret, and they pretend like they don't know what's going on, as one parent is trying to, like, tell the other kids, and the parents are just a lot more involved. And sometimes I wish it was just revolving around the parents and not the kids. Last but not least, the actual monsters or whatever product is supposed to, like, cause all the, like, spookiness and everything. In the original series, there was either like a monster that was causing harm, or, like, there was like an item like a cuckoo clock or like a camera or a mask. And those things would literally torment, like, whoever the kid was in that episode. In the new series, it's not really like that. Like, they do torment them at first, but that's only to get, like, the first couple of episodes out. And then after that, they just like, whatever, we do our own thing. Also, the items are very differently. In the original one, the cuckoo clock would, like, literally, if you mess with it, like, say you break something on it, it will literally just send you back in time every couple of, like, hours or days, something like that, until you become like a baby, and you have to reverse it before you're just like non-existent. In the new version, the cuckoo clock, it literally is just like Groundhog's Day. It's a time loop. And one of the character, James, is literally just replaying the same night over and over and over again. Actually, the whole day he's replaying over and over again. He uses that to his benefit to get this guy he liked. But then every time he keeps resetting time to go back, it creates a duplicate of him. And the duplicate is like this weird gooey, like, candy type thing. When you smash the person, it turns into this gooey glob and smells like Jolly Ranchers. And it's completely different from that of the original. The haunted mask was literally a mask that a man would design to hide his ugly face. This is a man who was very, disturbed, and he didn't love himself and all that, so he created a bunch of masks. When he would put on the mask, it would literally decay and rot the masks and stuff. The masks were extremely hard to take off. If you can only take it off 2 times, the third time I don't think you can. And so the mask will literally bond to you for like ever and ever, and it will literally possess you. The haunted mask was this green goblin type mask, and it was very disturbing and very haunting. And so, like, it possessed that of Carly Beth and made her do bad things. In the next installment, this one kid had this old person mask, and it literally turned him into an old man. When you try to take the mask off, it won't, and it literally bonds to that of your skin. In the new series, it's just a regular mask. I don't know what kind of mask this is, but it's just it looks like one of those clay type masks. It's not that interesting, and it has the ability to talk to you and possess you without you even wearing it. It still does that whole thing where it's hard to take off, and once you put it on, it has that same look, and then it radically changes to whatever type of vile person you are. Since this one girl trolls people on the internet, it turned her into a troll. Now, once that stuff started happening, she tried to attack like her brother. It got good, but she was able to take the mask off very easily once she saw that she almost harmed her little brother. And that was the, the whole, the loving thing, love that conquers all and all this other crap. And it's just kind of like, It depends on what your taste is. Like, the original mask looked great. The new one is just like a rinky-dink mask. But then you get to the camera. Now, in all fairness, the camera in the book was just a regular, ordinary camera, just like the new television series is. In the old Fox Kids one, they went for a more retro sci-fi creepy thing. It looked like a toaster with bat ears and or bat wings and all kind of weird thing. And it was this weird looking thing. So when you saw that weird design, you knew this is not your ordinary camera and there's something special about this thing. And it depends on your taste. If something that looks creepy and freaky is gonna get you in the mood, that's cool. If it's something just ordinary looking and it's actually haunted, then that could get you in the mood. You know what I'm saying? But for me personally, I like that 90s camera look because it was so bizarre that you just knew from the moment you saw, oh, something bad is gonna happen. And also the way, like, it predicts the future, bad future, is a lot differently. You take a picture of somebody with the original one, it predicts a bad future, and then you either disappear, you harm yourself, or something like that. And in order to reverse it, you either have to rip it up or do like the negative of it. In the new one, it just kind of cures it on. Like, it will show you something bad happening, and then something bad will happen, but not really that much. And like, it just, I don't know, like the spell ends and they really don't do nothing to try to, like, fix the bad outcome. It just kind of fixes it on its own. And that's like really lame. Fifi, the vampire poodle, finally makes her debut on the small screen. Fifi was never featured in the original series. She only appeared in the live action movie. But for the first time now, she has appeared in that of a Goosebump television series. The worm from Go Eat Worms. In the original one, is just a giant, like, worm looking thing. It was a great prosthetic and great animatronics. And basically, it's like, this boy is always scaring people with worms, and the worm decided to get revenge and stuff like that. In the new version, the worm is more monstrous. It has a giant mouth and all these tentacles, and it can run extremely fast. Slappy is probably like the mascot of Goosebumps. Like, in the original one, he was like, this porcelain type doll that was a ventriloquist dummy. And like, he would pull pranks on people. He would make fun of you. He would try to harm you. He would try to possess you and make you be his wife. He would turn you into like a human looking doll. Stuff like that. He was really creepy, and he had a very creepy, eerie look to him. And, but he also had a bit of a silly kind of look at that orange poofy hair he had. Now, in the new one, he's the combination of that of the one from the 90s series and the movie series. And he has a British voice. He doesn't pull pranks on people, and he doesn't make fun of you as he's trying to harm you. He's just more dark, but in a very vague, mysterious kind of way. And he has the ability to talk to you, even if he's not assembled or hasn't said the magic spell. And whoever is like, like the person that's in possession of him, they have magical abilities to make certain things happen, like turn people into like dummies and stuff, which is completely different from that of the original. Also, he had the ability to bring that one dude's dead dog back to life and turn it into a vampire poodle. So this new one is a bit more magical, and he can even reassemble himself on his own. You can see it. Now, the other one could reassemble himself as well, but we never saw it on camera. And he's just a completely different version from that of the original one. Even a little bit. He has this master plan that he's been wanting to do for the longest time, but most people who have possession of him are able to break through his spell. Another thing when it comes to that of Slappy is that in the new series, we finally get his origin and everything. In the original series, we never knew his origin, even though there was an episode that was supposed to explain it, but they never did. Here they go with the original origin before R.L. Stein decided to retcon it. In the books, Slappy is the soul of a magician named Kandar. Kandar is a very evil magician. He's friends with that of a doll maker named Maynard. And so when Kandar died, Maynard made Slappy out of the wooden coffin of the sorcerer, and his soul went in. That's how the books was. They never showed that or explained that in the original series. In the show, it's a little different. Kandar, I forget his original name, was a soldier. He got shot and he fell in a tomb. He read the incarnation on the wall, and Kandar possessed his soul. He later found Maynard, who worked for a circus and made dummy dolls and has the powers of a god. Maynard just made Slappy, and then he betrayed that of Kandar, because Kandar is evil, and the soul went into the doll. And so, yeah, so that's something new and interesting and different from that of the original series. So when it comes to the new series, it feels more like The Haunting Hour, R.L. Stein's The Haunting Hour. The setting, the lack of music, the more realistic vibe, but The Haunting Hour is way better. In all actuality, the original series is just gold. It's the best, it's the greatest, it's still, in my opinion, the best, like, children, teen, like, horror series there is. It's better than Creeped Out. It's better than, well, depends. The first season of The Haunting Hour is good, but then everything after that just kind of sucks because they give you those moral lessons. Oh, that's another thing. Moral lessons. In the new series, you learn a moral lesson and everything. You're literally preached to. Whereas in the original one, there was no moral lessons. And, you know, that was the great thing about it. You could just go into an episode and be like spooked or scared or whatever, and didn't have to learn nothing. And in the new one, it's like every modern day, like, you know, kids horror show. You have to learn a life lesson and tell you how bad you are. But, you know, the original one, you can't deny it. It's the best. It's the best. It is the best. That wasn't that spooky. All right. Well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.